Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in the last video you may have noticed that some of the focus in a lot of the shots was a little bit off. Now this was because I have been using a new camera that was lent to me by a good friend. The Lumix G7 I believe the camera is what I can see from what I'm looking at, because it's great for headshots, but it's just very different to use than what I'm used to. I'm very much used to a point and click or point and shoot sort of interface with a lot of autofocus, and this one has a lens and it's got ISOs and it's got all these buttons and things I have to configure. It's interesting to learn it all, and I think the quality of the camera is great, but I'm not used to using it, especially for such macro photography yet. So this video I would like to address and sort of really nail down my pipeline for video production. Go through all of the cameras that I... Do you want to fuck off, dog? Typical. Every time I do a bloody recording. Refocus on my face. There we go. Where was I? So I want to look at all of the cameras that I do have, see which ones I can use for which part of the process, in hopes to deliver a better final product. So let's get started with the cameras that I own, shall we? One of the first cameras that I bought a long time ago was a GoPro Hero 1 or 2. This was way back in the day. I used it to record some airsoft footage, and over the years I've slowly upgraded. You know, I got a Hero 4, yeah, which is this one. I believe this is one I took on holiday skiing to me, and the screen's a bit busted, but oh well. This is great for not much, honestly. I rarely find a use for it. It has no image stabilization when you're moving, so as an action camera it's a bit lacking. If you do post-processing image stabilization, you're just really cropped in. It's kind of pointless. So the Hero 4, it's just a camera that I haven't really used and I haven't found a purpose for yet, so that's out. Moving up the Hero line, the GoPro Hero 8. I bought this when I was really into my cycling phase a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed it. The only reason I don't carry on cycling at the moment on my e-bike is because I moved and there are no nice redways. Milton Keynes, where I used to live, was just brilliant. It had lots of cycle paths and places you can explore. Now I'm living in my hometown Daventry again. I have to go on the roads, and there are cars on the road, and they can squish me quite easily, and I don't like it. So I've just not felt safe. So I haven't really been cycling, which is a shame. But the main reason I bought this was to record, obviously, my point of view when I was on the bike. It's been mostly unused since, but it has good quality. It's got great image stabilization. It's 4K, and I'm quite pleased with it. Now, this I bought a long time ago to actually start doing vlogs and stuff, and I never really got around to doing it because I always felt a bit self-conscious. It's just a 1080p Sony, what is it? Sony WX500. It was very good for the first couple years, I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed this. It had good focus, it had good range, easy to use. The problems started within the last year or so. I was just recording stuff and it would lose battery too quickly, or I would just lose footage, it wouldn't commit to it. It just started having issues, so I've not really used it a lot because it's just unreliable now. I think I got it in 2017 and it's just giving up. It sometimes... I just don't know if I'm going to get the footage that I record, so that's out as a as a camera. It's officially retired. So the next camera, which is a bit weird, is my Samsung Galaxy S22. Is it an S22? Yeah, S22 Ultra. I think it's the S22. Yep, it is the S22 Ultra. So I've been using this a lot for most of the early macro shots in this because it does have a macro mode, and the camera is very, very good. Honestly, as a camera, this outdoes a lot of the other cameras that I've owned, so I thought I would give it a go. The problem was in macro mode or just normal mode when I was recording, maybe it was a bit too close, it kept popping in and out of macro mode. So you would get this nice wide shot which was good, decently focused, and then it would zoom in to the macro mode. So you'll see this in a bunch of my other videos that were recorded using that. It would just pop in and out of two different focal lengths, and it was quite irritating, and especially me, when I was editing it, I could see it and it was a bit annoying. So it's on the table as a contender and probably the best quality I've got right now, but we're gonna mess around and sort of do a comparison to see how all of these cameras look. And the final camera, which is the one I'm recording with, I'll have to put some B-roll in here, but it is, yeah, again, the Lumix G7. I recorded most of the last video with this. So it has a stock lens that comes with it, and by no means is it a bad lens. It's just really difficult to focus on something macro. Like, its focal length seems to be quite small. Even like when I set it up and recording straight down, you know, I bought a mount for it to my desk, so it was literally a top-down view. Getting that focal length, it would just zoom in a lot, and then trying to focus it, I would get it right, and I would move the model an inch up or down, and it would just go out of focus. So I don't know how I would use that to do the macro photography that I need on this channel. But as something that does headshots, if you can get the focus on, I've left it on autofocus for this because I might be moving in and out. Again, it's great. It's got amazing quality, great customization options. So those are the cameras that I have available to me. Now let's see what they look like in action. I'm gonna do some experiments with a bit of speed paint just to see how they look. So first up we have the GoPro Hero 8, which I set up in more of like a point of view sort of frame. Like, it was looking down at the angle that I would look down at the desk at. It gives a nice wide sort of angle view. Now the thing with the GoPros is that they are, again, designed to be action cameras. I have this set to the linear mode, so it is the narrowest point of view I can get, and it's still pretty wide. I do really like the scene layout of this. It gets my entire or most of my work area in shot, and it's decent quality. Maybe I have to tweak some settings a bit, but the problems start to happen when you zoom in. Yeah, you start to lose some of the quality. Maybe it gets a bit grainy. It is shooting in 4K, but because it's so wide, when you start to zoom in on something, it's just not the quality. There's something that seems off about it. So I don't think this would be good as a main painting camera, especially when I want to get really close and start doing those details. What I do like about it though is, again, how much view of my work surface and workbench that I get. So if I was going to do maybe a big batch paint, I would like to use this as just a time lapse. Like, if I could get a time lapse from this point of view, everything's in focus, it would be amazing. So I think this would be my official time lapse sort of point of view. But yeah, I think I can rule it out as a main macro camera. It's just not set up for that. It is 4K, but the downside to it is just that it's too wide to do the level of detail that I want. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Samsung Galaxy S22 in 1080p. So I originally did this clip by mistake because when I went into the Pro video mode on my camera, it defaulted to just high definition 1080p. In the past, I had used or just changed the quality on the normal video setting to ultra high definition, which is 4K, because it can shoot 4K. And that was what would pop in and out all of the macro settings and stuff. But if I used Pro Video, I think it got around that, because it would only then pop into the modes that I want it to pop into, I think. So I shot all of this by mistake, and you know what? I was almost fooled. I was like, looking at it, the quality seems good, the contrast seems good, the saturation's great, and don't get me wrong, Samsung adds a lot of its own processing, and the Hero I have as a flat sort of color base, so I would have to add my own post-processed colors into that one. It's just, normally I just have the GoPro profile set to flat, but yeah, this one has a good amount of detail. Even on 1080p, when I zoom in, the contrast and the post-processing that Samsung do apply, you know, I was almost fooled into thinking that it was higher than 1080. The reason I noticed it was not 4K was because I saw the file size at about 700 megs, and I was like, that's not 4K. It's great quality. Let's see what it looks like when we are in 4K. So on the surface, you might not notice much of a difference between the 1080p and the 4K. The reason why I like to shoot in 4K is because when I output videos, I normally do them at 1080p. I don't see the point in doing 4K at the moment. For me, it's just that extra time and effort. I just don't see the reward in it just yet. So from a wide perspective, when I'm doing no zooming or framing, they look very similar. You know, it's 1080p, everything's in shot, it looks great. The reason why I want to shoot in 4K at this sort of distance is because I can reframe and zoom in 2 or 3 times and still keep the 1080p quality that I'm going to output and just get all of that detail in. If we zoom in on a 1080p and then on the 4K, you'll see the difference is just absolutely night and day. It's so clear on the 4K. And this one, when I was painting it, there was no focus pops or anything. I'll be able to reframe this easily. I am super happy with the quality. And I don't know why I didn't use Pro Video mode before. It was just an oversight on my part. Just so we're in completeness, let's look at the footage from last video with the Lumix G7. Now, I really like the amount of quality. Again, the problems with this one is just all zoomed out. It's still a very close-up shot, framing my model to be comfortable when I'm painting. That's also decent for photography is also very difficult. You can see it pops in and out of focus a lot. There's a very specific focal length that doesn't adjust, so I have to keep the model in this area when I'm painting. So yeah, I think you can tell just from the last video that the quality of the camera is great. I just do not have the right lens for it right now, and lenses are expensive. So I'm going to go for the second best camera that I think is the second best, I don't know. I'm just going to go for the camera that I've been using so far and use it better. So the overall winner, the Samsung Galaxy S22, the one that I've been using all this time already. However, for static shots like this and honestly, standard photography with just, you know, normal pictures, the G7 wins hands down. I've got so much customization in that camera, and I quite like using it. Just having that feel of a camera in your hands when you're doing shots, it's yeah, you can't replace that. It's so good. So I think it's been a good experiment for those of you that really want to get into model painting and recording your own footage. You don't need to go out shopping for these big expensive cameras or GoPros or lenses. Honestly, all you really need to get started is your phone. Could be an Apple phone, could be an old phone. The cameras in phones for the last couple of years have been absolutely phenomenal. They've been great. You have everything you need in a convenient package to record macro footage as long as you've got the right setup. How I do it, and it's a bit awkward, I'll have to do this in B-roll, but I have a ring light and I've got a phone mount, and I put them both onto my desk and I sort of poke the camera through the ring light area. It's a bit awkward at first, and yes, it does get in the way when I'm painting because it has to be quite low down, so I'm sort of shifting my head around the camera to get that depth perception with 2 eyes. You know, I could use the screen for it, but you know, human eyeballs a bit better for the 3D space. So yeah, just if you want to get started, try using your phone, iPhone, Samsung, Oppo, whatever phones there are. Use your camera, see how it goes. And I think that's it. You can probably tell I've got a lot of painting to do, so I'm going to wrap this video up, and hopefully I will see you again very soon. Thank you very much for watching.